My name is Kevin Brophy. I'm here to tell you a story from Tehran, which when I went to the airport, I got all my travel arrangements sorted out. It had been quite difficult. I'd missed a flight, and so I was beginning to feel nicely settled. And I decided I'll visit the men's toilets just to get rid of the food that I'd taken in over the past few days. And I went in and saw the sign, of course, that I'm not to use toilet paper, which was fine, so I didn't. But I immediately had a problem because the thing that I left in the toilet was obviously not suitable for the delicate Iranian pipework. And it stayed there when I flushed. So I hung around till the water cleared, and then I flushed again, nothing happened. And so then I looked for the toilet brush, and now I know that there is no such thing as a toilet brush in public toilets in Tehran. And I'm getting a little bit concerned here because the toilets are busy enough, and I didn't want to be going out and have somebody come in and see my evidence of my Irishness everywhere. So I flushed again, but nothing happened. And then I decided I'm going to have to take drastic measures, so I was dressed as I am now, and I thought, look, to hell with this. I got my right fist and I shoved and I shoved. The shit went everywhere, but it didn't go down the channel. But I thought, I'd give it a good flush. This will sort it out. I gave it a good flush, and what it did was it reduced my good solid piece of shit into about 200 pieces of shit, and they were everywhere. So I flushed again, and as I flushed again, the sea level rose and discolored, and it was obviously everything was disintegrating. The water was coming up, and it stopped just at the rim, and it stopped in such a way that I knew I couldn't flush again. So I really had no idea what I was going to do now, except clean myself up as much as I can, get my stuff together and get out of there. So that's what I did, slightly opened the door, saw there was nobody around, so I left in a hurry. And I was very relieved to get out. Nobody saw what I did and was following me, so I'm sitting very comfortably, got over the worst. And about an hour and a half later, there's a bit of a commotion around me, and I look up and I see two police. And one of them is looking at an A4 sheet of paper, which I now know was a photocopied picture of me. And he shows me the picture and he says, "Is this you?" And I said, "Yes." And he says, "Come with us." And they walk either side of me, and I'm marched out of the waiting area over to a little room called police room. And I think, oh my God, what have I done? And I'm thinking, it cannot be that even though I went to the toilet in a pretty bad way, surely this isn't a criminal offence. But I went in anyway, and to my horror, when I went in, there was the toilet attendant. And then I knew this was just too embarrassing for words, and I didn't know, what's this got to do with police? And then I looked in, and all on the table in front of the main police officer was, my trip ends in the US, and I had about $350, and they were spread out in individual dollar notes, 20s and 50s and 10s and 1s, along with what seems like piles of millions of rial. I also there was my passport, and I had my son's expired passport because it has a nice photograph of him when he was a young lad. I had my driving license, and I had my other son's driving license because that also had a lovely photograph of him. So I looked, and I immediately thought, piles of money, 2 passports, 2 driving licenses. They think I'm a drug dealer. I'm not somebody who did a big shit in the toilet. I'm a drug dealer. And in those moments, I thought, I'm never going to see my family again. I'll never get back to Ireland. I'm going to, Iranian prisons, is this going to be like Midnight Express? All sorts of things were going through my mind. But then the head man, the captain, was looking at me, and he says, "You must be very happy." And I said, "Yes." And then he said, "The toilet attendant here, he found your small bag in the toilet, and I was immediately, the relief was going through me, I can tell you. And I knew then everything was going to be fine, and at the end of it all I wanted to give the toilet attendant some money, and he wouldn't take anything from me, and they explained to me that no, this is what we're happy. If you're happy, you're visiting our country, we're very happy that you've decided to come here, and we're only too pleased to help you out. He didn't say it as fluently as that at all. So we had this little connection, and for the next couple of minutes I was on level 20, and as I've been saying since, the policeman then was saying to me, what do you think of Iranian police? And I said, I think Iranian police are perhaps the greatest police service I have ever come across in my whole life. And if anybody ever says anything against them, they'll have me to reckon with. We were best friends without necessarily speaking more than 2 words of English to each other. And then I left them, and here I am, still alive, my gut in perfect order, and a full 2 passports, 2 driving licenses, and piles of Rial. And I'm very happy to be here and telling my story in this fantastic country. I'd say when I was telling people I was coming to Iran, people were saying, why would you do that? Why would you come to Iran? There's trouble. And I knew it wasn't as bad as, there've been the protests recently, but I knew they're limited. And I can say if anybody is thinking of coming to Iran, you will never, throughout the world, meet people as friendly. They'll go out of their way. They will cross the street to shake your hand, say welcome to Iran, and leave, because that's the only few words of English they have. Come across so much generosity and kindness. And now I'm only here for 3 weeks, but there's been plenty of occasions where things could have happened, things could have wrong. But from the best toilet attendants in the world to the best homestay hosts in the world, I couldn't recommend it any higher. And phenomenal weather, middle of winter, architecture, history, people, it has everything.